Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. Reason 7,942 to not like zoos. They are destroying the planet. Now, I know that sounds a little crazy right off the bat, especially all we hear about is how they're saving the planet. But here's what we want to talk today about is how they are keeping an entire working force of gorillas that should be out in nature unemployed. So this is a very important aspect because, we've been talking about all the different things and trying to sort of demystify all of the PR that the zoo puts out. So, we've talked about conservation, and we know that their efforts in conservation may be financial, maybe mostly minuscule, and, don't really help with conservation. There's no direct action programs. We talked about breeding, how breeding is designed to keep the zoos stocked, not to get animals back into the wild. So how is that breeding conservation? Again, we still don't know. If you have a theory or an idea, please put it in the comments. I'd love to keep this discussion going. That's another reason why we love having these day-to-day chats, is to have interesting discussions about things that you don't normally hear. And this is the number one thing is when it comes to the zoo, we all grow up, we all know about the zoo, and we're all taught the zoo by the zoo. Now that we live in a modern time where we have all these ways to communicate as activists, as just people with empathy, we see these animals being locked up and we know there's something wrong with this. And communities are popping up locally, internationally, everywhere to try to stop this, change this, and rewrite the future for all these poor animals that are being caught up in this exploitation industry. So here's what we're saying. We're saying, and we learned this from Ian Redmond, we'll go into it a little bit more, gorillas are keystone species, and that means that if they are not in their environment could degrade or collapse entirely. Now, the other thing about them is that they are gardeners of the forest. This is a term Ian Redmond uses. We love it. Gardeners of the forest, which means that just by being who they are, they regenerate forest growth around the world. Now, we all know that the biggest problem right now is focusing on carbon capture and trying to pull more of this excessive carbon from out of the atmosphere. Trees can do that. Trees are what can save us and save our atmosphere, or at least stabilize it. And trees, in order to have trees, we're going to need gorillas. This is why we say that zoos are destroying the planet. They're keeping these gorillas that need to be out working. They're keeping them in these enclosures just so people can look at them. They're shut down. And most importantly, they're not doing their job as intended within the natural sphere of biodiversity, which is helping regenerate forests. So, something we never really thought about before. You talk about Harambe, you talk about the incident. Generally, it's, I blame the mom, I blame the zoo. You get a lot of these interesting conversations going. But it's a deeper conversation than that, because every gorilla that is captive is out of the environment, and they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing, what they naturally would be doing, which is eating all kinds of fruits, herbs, plants, and then traveling up to a kilometer, maybe even more per day. Then they rest at night, and when they wake up in the morning and they go to the bathroom, they have all of their seeds are in their dung, and that acts as like a fertilizer. And then with the way that they sleep, and Ian explains this in the movie, the way that they sleep, they'll pull down branches to create a little bit of a light gap to come in. So they make their own bedding by pulling down branches, and they sleep on these. And this is how they make their beds. And they make their beds very often in trees. Another thing most people don't know about gorillas, especially if you learn about them from the zoo. So after their beds are done and all the leaves are pushed in the morning, that's a light gap through the canopy. And that comes down, hits the perfectly fertilized seeds, and there we have it, forest regeneration. So they are essential to our survival and to everyone's survival. And, Sarah and I were talking about this a little bit earlier, and she said something that really stuck in my mind, which is that this is not just a gorilla problem. This is a bigger problem. This is an everybody problem. This is a problem we all share because we all share the earth. And if the earth dies, we all die. And we're all trying to find ways to save it as much as we can right now. The number one thing we can do is restore the natural balance of nature. We talk about it in the movie, and again, if anybody has not been able to see the movie just yet, you can go to I think it's YouTube. We're now on YouTube TV, so you can go there and check it out, or you can go to Tubi, watch it, or if you want to support what we're doing, and remember that a little bit of all of our sales do go to support foundations on the ground. You can go to Amazon and buy a copy, or you can rent a copy. But no matter what, we encourage everybody to watch the movie, whether you're going to buy it or watch it for free. That's not what's important to us. What's important to us is the educational aspect. What we learned while making this documentary changed the way that we see nature and the way that we think about our relationship to nature for the rest of our lives. And we're not an NGO. We are not we're not a foundation. We don't come out and ask people to donate money so that we can save gorillas. That's not our thing. What we want to do is educate. And we were lucky enough with Harambe to bring in people like Ian Redmond, Will Travers, Peter Egan, and a lot of others that wanted to talk about this topic because it's an important topic. And the number one thing that we want, Team Harambe wants, is for this topic to be discussed. So all we're asking for is on Harambe Day, talk to your friend that maybe is going to go to the zoo or whose child has just been to the zoo. Reach out, talk to people, share the movie with them, share what you've learned in the movie, share the importance of replacing these absolutely important keystone species back into nature. Because until we do that, the earth is going to continue to break down. And remember, it's all one big sweater. You pull one of the threads, and the whole thing starts to unravel. And we're seeing that now. And, it's not just gorillas that are keystone species. Elephants are also keystone species, and we're seeing them disappear in the wild as well. So a lot of human use and thinking, you know what, we can take this land, we'll make it work for us, and then we'll manage it, and we'll make sure that the animals have enough land. That is human land management, and it's not working. We've seen that. We've all seen that. So we know that we need a new approach. And how can we do it? Number one, let's think about how do we get gorillas into the wild? There is no good solution right now because our relationship with gorillas comes from exploitation of killing them and stealing them and breeding them for money. We're never going to have the same view on them because it's born out of that time period. So what we need to do is reevaluate, renegotiate our relationship with nature in order to give it the proper respect it deserves, and for us to understand that we're part of it, we're not in charge of it. I mean, look, it only takes one weather natural disaster for everybody to remember that people are not in charge of the earth. It's going to do what it's going to do. Nature is a huge force, and we need to bring nature back to nature. The longer we let nature sit in these concrete walls, the longer that we're going to need more and more concrete walls, because the longer that goes on, the crazier our weather's going to get, the worse everything else is going to get, and soon there will be no nature for people to enjoy. And imagine the tragedy of you go to see a gorilla that's endangered in the zoo. Imagine the tragedy is that if the only place you can see a forest is in the zoo. So this is why Harambe Day, it's very important. Please speak up for the primates. Please speak up for all of our sentient beings that are captured everywhere, that are in entertainment shows all around the world. Oh, the ones that are in zoos, the ones that are being held in private zoos, public zoos. It doesn't matter. It's not our right to determine and control another being's life. People are more and more sensitive to that now. And that's what Harambe Day is centered on. Harambe Day is centered on speaking up. Let's get these gorillas out of the zoo. Where are they going to go? How are they going to get there? We don't have an answer yet. This is why we need a conversation. I would love to see everybody's ideas below. Please let us know. what can we do? Let's start to brainstorm, because in order for us to solve it, we're not going to solve it from the mindset of 100 years ago, where we saw them as inferior and we killed them and we stole them and we started breeding them. There is no solution is going to be born out of that mindset. So we do need to re-examine our relationship. And the perfect day to do that is May 28th, Harambe Day. It's the day that an unfortunate tragedy changed the course of many lives. We weren't there that day. We saw this comment the other day, and it's very interesting. We weren't there that day. There was a lot of things that happened that day that people don't necessarily know about, and there's still some questions that revolve around everything. One thing that we're not trying to do as filmmakers is to go back to the event and second guess the actions of anybody that may have been on the ground that day, because we were not there. But what we do want to do as filmmakers is prevent this from happening again. And as far as we can tell, there's only one way to do that, and that is to get these gorillas out of captivity so they're not there to be killed at some point. We need them alive, we need them in nature, and we need them doing their job back out there, back out into the world, back out into the forest. We really need them to be out there. As Ian Redmond said, they once had a globally important job and responsibility, and now they're unemployed. They're just sitting in their enclosures, not interacting with their environment, not enhancing it in the way that they were intended by nature, not doing any of the things they were supposed to do by nature. So the zoo is offering the animals nothing, it's offering the world nothing, and we need to rethink the zoo. So again, this is one of the many aspects of the zoo that we need to reconsider and start to discuss differently, not with the conversations of the past. So thank you very much for joining us today. We're in travel today, but we didn't want to miss an opportunity to talk to all of our friends and our community here, because it's so important to see so many people that are out talking about this. It moves us every day when we see how many people care so much about making the world a better place and about making the animals' lives better. It's a really beautiful thing, and we're very, very excited to be part of it. So remember, everybody, May 28th is Harambe Day. Please do, if you can, go to your zoo. If not, please put up a message with the hashtag Harambe Day and tag us if you can. We'd love to see what's going on out there. We'd love to hear what you think about the animals. And May 28th is the day where you can put your own video up and just join us in a giant dialogue by adding the hashtag Harambe Day, because all of us together can make the difference. So thank you again, everybody, for joining us. We're so excited about Harambe Day coming up and about all the new advancements coming. And again, YouTube TV, if you can, please go check us out on YouTube. It's free with ads. You might see a few ads on there. We would love to hear if you could go interact with some of the comments as well, because there's a lot of lively discussion beginning there. And as long as Harambe is not here to speak up, we have to. All right, everybody, have a great day, and I can't wait to see everybody tomorrow.